Hey everyone, first of all, good work today, and it was great to see how you all helped each other out, got settled in. So it was a very successful day. A couple of things I wanted to recap and just use these modern tools. First of all, we have to remember to blow out our gels. We all experienced that, but it's just one of the things to make our gels run better. And then it is not in the protocol, but if we pre-run our gel, let's say for 20 minutes, it's between 20 and 25 minutes, then the xylene cyanol, which is the light blue, is usually exactly at that spot where after 40 minutes, the 2/3 mark is where we can cut. Why is it not in the protocol? Because the precision of that really depends between gel apparatus. So it's the same thing as in the last day. We might want to run our gel for 75 minutes, but for some people it will be 70 minutes, for other might be 80. So each gel apparatus has somehow a different way to convert the amperes into current, and therefore the running is slightly different. But I think it's a nifty trick, and particularly if you do batches of samples, maybe it's worth to check out in your own equipment in the labs and then basically use that for size selection. The things to in the question today, why tween? Well, tween is basically sort of a lubricant that makes sure that the RNA is not sticking to the tubes, and so having 0.05% tween present at all time is critical to not lose your small RNA. Which brings me to an important point. From tomorrow on, we're gonna work with as much RNA as you've seen on the gels today, right? It was basically nothing, right? Those of you who loaded 1 microgram definitely didn't see anything, but even those of you who loaded 10 micrograms or so barely saw, if at all, a hint of a stain. So this should teach you or tell you that you have very, very little RNA tomorrow. It's not a problem if we remember where RNases come from, right? It's our sweat, it's our hair, it's our breath. That's not a problem. I think where we can do better tomorrow is to not go inside of any bags. So if they're bags of tubes, we don't go inside, because eventually if we do it often enough, we might have a chance to actually contaminate the inside of the bag with something from the top or the bottom of our gloves. The same thing for tomorrow. If in doubt, let's just change gloves. And when we start, let's just wipe down the bench with 10% bleach. 75% ethanol is not efficient against RNases. So tomorrow what are we doing is we have now the small RNA, but now we want to cap enrich it. So to do so, the first thing we're going to do tomorrow is spin down our RNA for 30 minutes. So for those of you who might not make it on time or are delayed, it's no problem. Just let me or your partners know, or your team members know, to just spin the samples with you. Once the RNA is nicely pelleted, we're going to wash it with 75% ethanol and then resuspend it in TET. What we cannot forget tomorrow is that before we add then we heat denaturate it, but before we add the SIP, we'll have to take our input RNA aside 10% into the 8 strip. These inputs we will all collectively store at the -80 till we need it tomorrow. Then we basically treat it with Terminator, sip it, heat it up, sip it for a little bit longer, trisol extract it, and then repeat the ethanol precipitation, or in this case it's going to be an isopropanol precipitation. For those of you who do not have a lot of time on Wednesday is going to be by far our most intense day. So for those of you who can and are very quick and rapid tomorrow, as long as you precipitate your small RNA for, let's say, half an hour and -20, you can actually precipitate the RNA the same day. However, we can also precipitate again overnight and then start Wednesday morning with a precipitation. The advantage is that Wednesday we are a little limited by the number of aliquots we have from our kit. And so those of you who are already excited to go ahead can actually pellet the RNA already tomorrow evening, which means Wednesday they can go straight ahead with the RPPH, which is the decapping step, while others might still have to spin down the samples, wash them, transfer them to the PCR tubes, and then start with the library prep. Again, we can talk about that in all detail tomorrow. As for now, relax, and I'm looking forward to seeing you everyone tomorrow.